Hey guys, Ed here with another video today. It's very unscripted. It's something I've been thinking about a lot, and it's something I don't see players talk about ever, really. I don't even see casters really mention it. And that is something I'm gonna call the long game, or playing the long con, if you will. The two things I want to just touch on, I mean, I won't make guides on it or anything in this video, otherwise it'll be hours long, but the two things I want to talk about are just simply the art of conditioning, as well as saving your guard break, or should I say, saving your opponent's guard so it can be broken later. Xianghua is, as most of you probably know, my main character, but she's also really good at doing both of these things, saving guard crush and playing the long game with conditioning, because she's very much a poke and mix-up heavy character. Her combo damage is a bit lower than the norm, but she has a lot of pokes that don't damage the guard as much as other characters. And she doesn't have too many moves that crush it, but the ones she does have that crush it are quite strong. So case in point being her Wall Rising B, just to give you guys an example. Oh, my bad here. There we go. Right, this is a great move to crush guard with. It's just a great move, period. So this is just an option. But her best guard crush move, one of, is B slide K or 2/2/88K. Both of these really don't scale at all. I mean, they do a little bit, but then you can get this, which is a natural combo. So anyway, this is why I'm picking Xianghua for the guard crush purposes. Now, for the sake of mix-up, most people have experienced her throw mix-up, which pretty much the only viable way to get this in a game, other than dropping your combo for it. So for example, this, right? Okay, well, my bad. But you hit that guard break, which is guaranteed if the opponent blocks, and then you get a free grab mix-up. But the only real easy way to get this, and I'll call it quote-unquote safe, even though it's completely not, is 1A slide G, because a lot of players know that this is in itself a mix-up. Either I let it rip and I get a decent low for 23 damage. I block it and now I'm in a crouching state, right? And you can hold 2 and remain in a crouching state. So now you've got options. You can either back turn B plus K or back turn 2 B plus K, which is that. Let me just take this guard crush off so I don't ruin it. There we go. You can either 2 B plus K into a grab mix-up, or just B plus K normal into, again, a grab mix-up. Or if you don't want to do this because this combo doesn't work, right, you can simply 6KA, which will actually wall splat. And it does give you the Beihua Oki option if you want. Anyway, not getting into Xianghua specifics past that. The point is 1A in itself is a bit of a mix-up here, and a lot of players are familiar with this. Yeah, so this is what I'll be talking about today. Just conditioning using 1K slide G as the main example with Xianghua, but there are a few others. And then playing the long game when it comes to guard crushes. That is more of a theoretical thing that applies to every single character, and I just want players to be aware of it. So that's a bit of an easier conversation to have. I'm going to talk about that first. So, guard crush. Please, for the love of all that is holy, just keep in mind guard crush. I see a lot of players, let's say the score is, I'll plan a scenario for you. My opponent, the Xianghua, her guard is flashing red, mine's full. I have the life lead. She's at, 2K away from dying, right? Or 1K from dying. And I'm up 1-0, and, they don't have a round. So this is the scenario, right? I can easily win the game with just a 2K, a 1K, or, just a simple chip to the face. Something like a 6A, 4B, right? AA, 10 frame punish, so like super easy, right? And yet, I see people use the moves, whether it's accidental or not, that crush the guards. So I would see Xianghua's use, pardon me, that as their wall rising move, as opposed to that, right? Use this. Like, I know Wall Rising B is good, don't get me wrong, but use at least the K if you want the vertical, or just a single tap of Wall Rising A. To keep that option if you want it, right? It's because it puts you back in a grounded state. Point being, I see so many players both at the highest level, my locals, tournaments, online, my scrim buddies, they don't keep in mind the guard crush as much as I believe you should. I think this is a mechanic that is severely underutilized, pardon me, and something that characters like Aswell, Songmina, Siegfried, amongst others, that those players don't take advantage of. Those characters have huge guard crush skills, or attacks, pardon me. Songmina, for example, 40 or ish damage with just her, I believe it's 4/4 A plus B. It's an overhead swing. She can do that on an Oki. There goes half your guard meter, right? So all I'm trying to say is, for the love of God, keep the guard crush in mind and use it sparingly when it will win you the game, right? Or if I was on the back foot and they had the life lead and it'd be a full combo kill, then I go, oh man, yeah, here we go, and then I win the round. But if you're winning and you have the round lead, and breaking that guard isn't going to win you the whole match, right? Give you that third pip. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Try your best anyway to not use your moves that crush guard. Like there's a lot of little jabs here that don't break it, right? I'm doing a bunch of little common Xianghua moves, right? Just keep it in mind. And that's kind of all I'm going to say with that. Keep it in mind and then know what your optimal scaling is. Like this is like 107 damage, right? All that. But, that's breaking with that. But if I broke with something like Full Crush 3B, it's not good because now this combo only did 51 damage, whereas it traditionally does 60 something, right? So, yeah, there are moves that scale more than others, there are moves that do more guard damage than others, and I just want players to keep it in mind. Cool. Alright, that's the end of that. Moving on to, what did I say? Conditioning, the long game, playing the long con. Conditioning is a fundamental part of fighting games. It's not something that you can teach. It's not something that you can really see happening traditionally. Astaroth is maybe an exception with his grabs, but conditioning, much like reads, is probably the most real unreal, or the most real non-physical aspect of a fighting game, right? Again, Xianghua heavy with the conditioning and the reads with her auto GIs, as well as the 1AG mix-up. Conditioning is something that you traditionally only hear tossed around with grappler characters, or characters such as Valdo or Xianghua. However, it is something that every character can do. If you're traditionally doing, let's say a character has AAA or AAB strengths, right? So in this case, I've got high, high, mid, horizontal, or I have high, high, mid, vertical, poke. You can sidestep the third one on normal hit. You can interrupt my third hit on the horizontal. If my opponent keeps on stepping this because they don't want to deal with it, or they don't want to deal with the pushback it has, say maybe they're a Talim or a Taki, they're going to start stepping it. So now you have options. I just either AA block, or AA 4K maybe, or AA 2K to duck their high retaliation. Or if I really feel like it, I can just start doing AAA, AAA, AAA. And if my opponent is getting savvy and they start understanding this and trying to interrupt, then I start doing AAB, which can't be interrupted. And now we're getting a counter hit for, I don't even know what it is. Let's find out, actually. 26 damage, right? So just the little things like that. Now, some people might think, well, geez, Zedd, you can just GI both options forehead. Well, no, you can't, because as soon as you GI, Xianghua is a very dangerous character to get in a GI war with, because as soon as, excuse me, as soon as you go to counter GI a Xianghua, and she GIs you back, her guard breaker can be cancelled into A plus B 6 or A plus B. So obviously she's a bit of an anomaly in that respect, but the point is GIing isn't necessarily a good option, because you can counter GI, you can reversal edge, or you can sidestep or duck. a lot of guard breakers. There's very, very, very few things in this game that are quote unquote guaranteed after a guard impact. There are a few, but not many. And so for the sake of time, conceptualization and the video, we're not going to talk about those. So point is, you could GI both these options, yes, but what if you start doing that? Now, as the player doing the AAA or AAB, now I can go, okay, AA, or AA, wait for GI, 3B punish. Or AA and guard breaker, if they have a faster, or if you're a slower character. Right? So something as fundamental and rudimentary as AA strings for most of the cast is in itself a small form of conditioning. In the case of grabs, it comes down to kind of the mental game. Grabs in Soul Calibur are a bit of a 50-50, but you can kind of infer which one your opponent wants to use based on map positioning, character specifics, your health bar, things of that nature. Pardon me. In Xianghua's case, what you're concerned about is her crouch grabs more than anything. And you would know that her back crouch grab nets more damage, but it swaps sides of the screen. But her forward grab can ring out / wall splat, right? Or forward crouching grab, which is this guy here. Only 60 damage off of that whole string versus 71. And now your back is turned, your back is facing me now, which is actually a problem because not a lot of characters have solid back turn moves. You know, Maxi's got a really good one. Valdo obviously has no trouble here. But some characters just have garbage back-facing moves, and now you're going to have to spend however many more frames it is to turn around and move and all that. Like, you're not just going to be able to now AA or BB or 3B, right? You're going to end up using your back-turned attacks. So this is something to consider when, you know, in the case of Xianghua's grab mix-up. So these are just little conditioning things, but to start being a little more vague and broad, conditioning is something that is so common at the competitive level of all fighters, all of them. And it's something that I know that the Soul Calibur community doesn't use enough. Now, it is a weapons fighter, the moves lists are smaller, and there are aspects such as GI, RE, and Soul Charge, or defensive aspects such as those three, to mitigate these mix-ups and conditioning tools. But that doesn't mean you stop using them. If you're a character like, say, Gro or Maxi, yeah, your mix-ups aren't quite as fast as Xianghua's, but they're sure as hell of a lot more threatening when it comes to their stances. And conditioning can very well win you your matches or your game or your set or your tournament or your online tournament or whatever level of Soul Calibur you're playing. All I'm trying to say is use a few more tools. Try to get your opponent to play your game. Stop being a turtle. Stop being a pawn in your opponent's game. Otherwise, players who have the edge on you will just walk on you. So Calibur 6 is one of the more defensive games in the genre or the franchise. Traditionally, Rushdown has been a little more effective. Not the only way to play, but a little more effective. So Calibur 6 has tools in play to allow you to counter pressure and apply proper defensive tactics to avoid these mix-ups and conditioning tools. But again, that does not mean you should not be using them. You can play as honest as you want. You can play a character like Sophidia, arguably the most honest character in the game. But even Sophidia still has things you need to worry about, things to consider. Such as, her Oki. Her Oki's pretty solid. 1K charge is a threat. 6-6B is a threat. Things like that, right? Yeah, she's honest, but even Sophie, even Geralt has some kind of mix-up and tool you can condition with. So yeah, that's kind of, in a basic sense, the gist of what I wanted to talk about today. Just please try to keep conditioning in mind. Don't play your opponent's game, play your game. You need to be, every player, every single character in this game and player should be trying to make your opponent play their game. Now, if your game plan is to ring out your opponent, that is totally okay. It is okay to move back up, realign yourself, play footsies, block, 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 block for that one juicy hit, which will lead to a ring out, right? So it's okay to play like that. Characters like Xianghua, Ivy, Zasalamel, you know, pre-Flapjack nerf Siegfried and Nightmare, right? Even Siegfried now with his, I believe it's 1B or 4B, can still play like this. So it's okay to be defensive for a reason, but just try not to play your opponent's game. Try to make them play your game. And second, just try to keep Guard Crush in mind. Try to understand that that could literally win or lose you your game. If you keep your opponent in the yellow and red up until the final point, like it's game 5, match point, you have 2 bars, they have, or you have 0 bars, they have 2 bars, you're losing, but their guard is red, you can still bring it back. Alright? So, I know it was kind of scatterbrained all over the place. It's just my thoughts on the matter. I really just want to get it out there. For the love of God, condition and keep guard break in mind. Alright? Thanks, guys. Have a good one.